Greetings Warhammer enthusiast. Before you stands a voice assistant of the podcast, dedicated to spreading the greater good. If you find this information useful, please do not hesitate to leave a like and subscribe. Together, we shall explore the depths of the Warhammer universe and share in its wonders. Szarekh was born into the Saracen dynasty, one of the most influential and powerful of the Necron dynasties. This dynasty held the tradition of their members frequently becoming the Silent King, the ruler of all Necron. Sarekh's ascension to this role took place during a period of extreme conflict, as the Necron were in a brutal war with the Old Ones, an ancient and highly advanced race. In his desperation to win this seemingly unending war in heaven, Szarekh took a drastic step. He agreed to form an alliance with the C'tan, another ancient and godlike race. The C'tan promised the Necron immortality by transferring their consciousness into bodies of living metal, thus becoming the Necrons. This process is known as biotransference. The Deceiver, one of the most cunning and manipulative of the C'tan, played a significant role in convincing Szarekh to go through with this transformation. Szarekh was so desperate for a solution to their struggle that he ignored the counsel of his court advisor, Ori Khan, who was known for his wisdom and prescience. However, the promised immortality came with a heavy price. While the Necrons were now immortal and able to eventually turn the tide in the war in heaven, Szarekh soon realized the terrible truth. His people had become soulless, their individuality and emotions stripped away. They were now merely pawns of the C'tan. This realization came to Szarekh before the war even concluded. Overwhelmed with guilt and a burning desire for revenge against the C'tan who had tricked them into such a cursed existence, he resolved to take action. During the biotransference process, when the Necron transferred their consciousness into robotic bodies to become the Necrons, Szarekh was given the most sophisticated and powerful Necron body. His physical form is constructed from necrodermis, a living metal used by the Necrons and associated with the C'tan. This necrodermis body provides Szarekh with a sensory and neurological network that surpasses anything a flesh and blood organism could create, enhancing his abilities beyond standard Necron or organic capabilities. Szarekh was imbued with command matrices that gave him control over the entire Necron race. This unique capability set him apart from the rest of his kind and provided him with the means to enact his plan. After the Necron's transformation into the Necrons and their subsequent victory over the Old Ones, Sarekh's plan for revenge against the C'tan came to fruition. He led a successful Necron rebellion against their former masters, culminating in the shattering of the C'tan into shards, a state in which they could be controlled and enslaved by the Necrons. This marked a significant turning point in the history of the Necron race, symbolizing their liberation from the manipulations of the C'tan. However, Sarekh's victory was not without its complications. Despite the defeat of the Old Ones, new races that they had seeded were rising in power, such as the Eldar. These races were fresh and vigorous, and the Necrons, wearied by eons of conflict, were in no condition to challenge them for galactic dominance. In the face of this new reality, Szarekh made another monumental decision. He ordered the Necrons to retreat to their tomb worlds and enter a state of hibernation known as the Great Sleep. His plan was for the Necrons to reawaken 60 million years in the future, when they would be rejuvenated and ready to reassert their dominance over the galaxy. However, Szarekh himself did not join his people in their long slumber. Riddled with guilt over his decision to ally with the C'tan, which led to the soulless state of the Necron, he chose a path of penance. He destroyed the command protocol that had given him control over the entire Necron race, symbolically freeing his people from the last vestiges of the C'tan's influence. Szarekh embarked on his solitary journey into the void of intergalactic space aboard a massive planet-sized craft known as a sepulchral engine. This enormous ship was befitting of his status, and despite his self-imposed exile, the Silent King did not travel alone. Legions of his own Saracen dynasty accompanied him, stored within stasis crypts. This entourage, even in stasis, was a constant reminder of his past decisions and the responsibilities he still held for his people. Sarekh's journey lasted for millions of years, during which he was the only Necron who retained complete memory of his past, including the time when the Necronti were still organic beings. The weight of these memories, and the guilt of what he had done to his race, was a burden he constantly bore. For any lesser life form, such prolonged grief and regret would have been mind-shattering. Nevertheless, Szarekh was not aimless in his journey. He still had a grand plan, a way to redeem himself and his people. He envisioned a future where the Necrons, rejuvenated from their long slumber, would rise at a time when their enemies like the Eldar were weakened by internal strife and the ravages of time. With their immortal bodies and highly advanced weaponry, the Necrons would then be poised to assert their dominance over the galaxy. In the meantime, Sarekh's self-exile into the void served other purposes. While these remain largely a mystery, some speculate that the Silent King was seeking a way to reverse the biotransference. If this could be achieved, the Necrons might regain their organic forms and, potentially, their lost souls, thereby undoing the great mistake that Szarekh felt he had made. During his long journey through the intergalactic void, Szarekh encountered the Tyranids, a voracious alien race known for consuming entire planets' biomass. Recognizing the existential threat they posed to the Necrons, he understood the implications of their unchecked growth. If the Tyranids were to consume all the biomass in the galaxy, the chances of reversing the Necrons' biotransference would be entirely lost, as there would be no organic matter left to return to. While the duty to protect his people from the Tyranids was clear to Szarekh, his motivations were far from altruistic towards other civilizations. His primary concern was the survival and potential restoration of the Necron race, rather than the preservation of other species. However, the narrative of Sarekh's encounter with the Tyranids and his subsequent decision to defend the Necrons against this threat has certain gaps. The specifics of when and how he chanced upon the Tyranids in the vast intergalactic void remain unclear. The circumstances surrounding such an encounter raise questions, given the astronomical odds of randomly encountering another species in the vastness of intergalactic space. Furthermore, despite being born into the Sarekhan dynasty, there is ambiguity regarding from which dynasty Szarekh ultimately hails. Memories of his rule before the biotransference are scarce, adding to the enigma of his character. Necrons who dare to question Szarekh on these matters mysteriously disappear, taken away by the Triarch Praetorians, his loyal guardians. This shroud of mystery deepens the enigmatic character of the Silent King, making him a figure of awe, respect, and perhaps, fear within the Necron race. In the 41st millennium, Szarekh ended his self-imposed exile and returned to the galaxy. This return was prompted by his encounter with the Tyranids in the intergalactic void. However, upon his return, he found that the Tyranids were not the only threat facing the Necrons. Other alien races had overrun their tomb worlds, and the warp, a chaotic and dangerous dimension, was now seeping across the galaxy, posing a significant threat. With these challenges in mind, Szarekh embarked on a mission across the galaxy, accompanied by a band of his loyal Triarch Praetorians. Their goal was to reawaken the tomb worlds that were still in their long slumber, in order to unite them against the Tyranid menace. Despite his return, the Silent King was careful not to reveal his true identity, even to his fellow Necrons. Instead, he worked primarily through Triarch Praetorians and manipulated cryptex and Necron overlords to achieve his goals. Gradually, he began to exert his influence across the galaxy, operating from the shadows as he pursued his grand plan. Sarekh's intentions extended beyond uniting the Necrons against the Tyranids. He also sought to manipulate the younger races, most likely using them as tools in his grand strategy. Interestingly, Szarekh claimed to have encountered Sanguinius, the Primarch of the Blood Angels chapter of the Space Marines, who is considered deceased in the official Imperium records. Szarekh even suggests that Sanguinius might have been on the verge of establishing an alliance with the Necrons. This claim, if true, could have profound implications for the power dynamics in the galaxy, but the truth of this statement remains a matter of conjecture. Upon his open return to the galaxy, the Silent King, Szarekh, called upon his followers, including the Triarch Praetorians, to rejoin him on the tomb world of Antrak. This marked a significant moment in Necron history, as the Silent King began to reassert his authority and re-establish the Necron power structure. Szarekh then proceeded to form a new Triarch, the ruling council of the Necron civilization. For this, he chose two pharaohs from minor dynasties, Hapthatra the Radiant and Mesophet the Shadowed Hand. The choice of these two figures is notable. As pharaohs, they held significant positions of power within their respective dynasties, but their dynasties were minor ones, suggesting that Szarekh was trying to balance power within the Necron hierarchy. The two chosen pharaohs were then joined into a powerful artifact known as the Dias of Dominion, a platform imbued with the energy of a captured shard of the C'tan Nyadrazatha. The C'tan, often referred to as star gods, were the entities that originally tricked the Necronty into becoming the Necrons. The use of a C'tan shard to power the Dias of Dominion is a potent symbol of the Silent King's victory over these deceptive beings. Upon joining with the Dias of Dominion, Hapthatra and Mesophet began to speak with the same voice, creating a unified front in the Necron leadership. Importantly, they never overruled the Silent King, affirming Sarekh's ultimate authority. This restructuring of the Necron leadership was a significant step in Sarekh's plan to unite the Necron race against the threats they faced, both from within their own ranks and from the external forces that sought to dominate the galaxy. The new Triarch represented a united and powerful force, ready to guide the Necrons in their struggle for galactic dominance. In the 41st millennium, a significant event known as the Gehenna Campaign took place. This campaign saw the Blood Angel Space Marine chapter, one of the most renowned chapters of the Adeptus Astartes in the Imperium of Man, confronting a Necron army led by none other than the Silent King, Szarekh. The Blood Angels, recognized for their martial prowess and tactical acumen, were led by their chapter master, Commander Dante. On the other side, the Necrons, an ancient and technologically advanced race, were guided by the strategic brilliance of the Silent King. The stage was set for a colossal showdown on the planet Gehenna. However, as the two sides engaged in a bitter and grueling conflict, a sudden and unexpected development forced a dramatic shift in the dynamics of the campaign. A Tyranid splinter fleet, part of a predatory Xeno species known for their insatiable hunger to consume all organic life, emerged in orbit over Gehenna. The Tyranids posed an existential threat to both the Blood Angels and the Necrons. This led to a surprising and uneasy alliance between the two erstwhile enemies. The Blood Angels and the Necrons, led by the Silent King, had to set aside their differences and join forces to repel the Tyranid invasion. This unlikely coalition highlighted the extreme danger represented by the Tyranids. It also underscored the complexities of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, where shifting alliances and the emergence of common threats can disrupt even the most entrenched hostilities. The unlikely allies managed to repel the Tyranid invasion, demonstrating the effectiveness of their combined might. However, the battle against the Tyranids left both the Blood Angels and the Necrons too exhausted to renew their hostilities against each other. Moreover, for Commander Dante, the prospect of turning against those they had recently fought alongside was distasteful. This sentiment further illustrates the complexities of the Warhammer 40k universe, where alliances can be forged and broken in the face of ever-shifting threats and challenges. After the battle, Dante and the Silent King went their separate ways, each returning to their respective agendas, their conflict unresolved yet tempered by their shared struggle against the Tyranids. This encounter added yet another layer of intrigue and complexity to the ongoing narrative of the Warhammer 40k universe. During the Pariah Crusade initially delegated the defense of his Pariah Nexus, a network of Necron-controlled star systems, to Sirras and other vassal lords under his command. This decision was likely made due to Szarekh's focus on broader strategic concerns and his confidence in the capabilities of his subordinates. After an extended campaign, the Silent King, Szarekh, arrived on the tomb world of Zendu. This visit was to assess the progress of the Pariah Nexus, a significant project for the Necrons, as well as to inspect the defenses against the human forces from the Imperium of Man. Upon his arrival, Szarekh was met by Sirras, a Necron overlord known for his scientific mind and expertise, along with other Necron overlords and an impressive assembly of 3,000 Triarch Praetorians, the elite enforcers of the Silent King's will. As a tribute to Szarekh, they presented him with captured human blanks for his experimentation. In the Warhammer 40k universe, blanks, also known as pariahs or untouchables, are humans who are immune to psychic powers and can even nullify these abilities in others. Following Szarekh's arrival, the Necron forces that had previously been held back under Sirras were mobilized in a massive counteroffensive, involving millions of warriors. This large-scale movement of troops represented a significant escalation in the conflict, and demonstrated the Silent King's commitment to defending the Necron holdings. Szarekh himself took a leading role in several of these battles against the human forces, appearing at the front lines of the conflict. As a testament to his martial prowess and strategic acumen, he offered his foes an opportunity to surrender, displaying a sense of honor and fairness in line with his complex character. However, despite the overwhelming odds, the humans never yielded, which earned them the Silent King's grudging admiration. This resilience of the human forces adds a layer of complexity to the conflict and underscores the high stakes of this interstellar war. On the planet of Rorgestis III, a significant battle took place between the forces of the Necrons, led by the Silent King, Szarekh, and the Imperial Guard, specifically the Bargantine Plains Rangers and Halasai Sky Commandos. The Imperial Guard attempted a breakout strategy, which Szarekh cleverly allowed to proceed up to a certain point. He allowed some of the humans to reach their landing craft and begin evacuation before deploying a devastating counteroffensive. He unleashed 5 shards of the powerful Catan, godlike beings of the Necrons, along with a massive force of annihilation barges and Canoptek wraiths, 2 types of heavily armed Necron war machines, to annihilate the fleeing human forces. On the battlefield of Borsis, Szarekh once again demonstrated his strategic genius and ruthless efficiency. He deployed his Cryptex, Necron specialists in the manipulation of reality, to unleash a trillion scarabs, small robotic constructs known for their destructive capabilities, on the besieged Imperial forces. The result was a complete and utter devastation of the enemy forces. Meanwhile, Overlord Karaptar halted his advance on the moon of Borsis to engage in a duel with a Space Marine captain. This pause in the advance was met with a counterattack from the Imperial forces, an action that Szarekh saw as a direct insult to the honorable duel that Karaptar was engaged in. In response to this, after evacuating his own forces, he deployed his personal warship, the Song of Oblivion, which unleashed such devastating firepower that it literally split the moon apart. In another part of the galaxy, Farron Shemvok, a Necron leader, was recovering from a previous destruction. However, he was still able to enact his will through lesser Necron lords. His forces launched a devastating assault on an Imperial fleet at the Jeb Nebula, and subsequently exterminated its human population. Finally, Orikan the Diviner, a powerful cryptech known for his predictive abilities, led a combined Necron army composed of forces from the Saracen, Orish, and Urtep dynasties. This joint force launched an assault on a fortress held by the Sisters of Battle, an all-female division of the Imperial Church's ecclesiarchy, on the planet Vantes III. The outcome of this battle is not known, but given the power and cunning of Orikan, it was likely a challenging fight. While Szarekh was conducting his grand strategic plans, he also had to deal with internal strife and the various agendas of the Necrons within the Nephilim sector. This kind of internal politics and power struggle is common among the Necrons, as each dynasty seeks to improve its standing and increase its influence. One such individual was Trazyn the Infinite, a Necron overlord known for his obsession with collecting rare and valuable artifacts. Trazyn revealed the location of the Necrons' presence in a particular system, by unleashing his forces to kidnap the crew of a single human ship for his personal collection. This seemingly random act of aggression resulted in a bloody void battle that forced the loyal overlord Neshkafar to sacrifice a portion of his fleet needlessly, demonstrating the destructive effects of the individualistic agendas of certain Necron leaders. Another example of internal squabbling came from the Orish dynasty. The ruling overlord of the dynasty chose to withhold his legions, while Lord Karifar Lakshmet led 50,000 warriors as part of an internal struggle to gain favor with the Silent King. This kind of maneuvering for power and favor is typical within Necron society, reflecting its hierarchical and competitive nature. Smaller dynasties, such as the Fetzesh, Urep, and Mefhamnet, often used the broader conflict as an opportunity to settle their own disputes. The Mefhamnet, for instance, took advantage of the situation to annex territories belonging to neighboring dynasties. The Fetzesh even clashed with legions of the Nihilak dynasty, who were loyal to the Silent King, demonstrating the tension and conflict that can occur even between those who are ostensibly on the same side. Finally, Farron Vordreska was entirely focused on getting revenge against the Orcs of the galactic southeast. This fixation might have detracted from the overall Necron strategic goals, but it's also reflective of the highly personal motivations and grudges that can drive the actions of Necron leaders. To combat these threats and further his goals, Szarekh has engaged in a complex web of political and military strategies. Sarekh's primary objective is to awaken the still slumbering Necron tomb worlds and rally them against common threats, such as the Tyranids and the growing psychic energies of the Warp. He intends to lead the Necron race back to galactic supremacy, but he also has a personal mission to find a way to reverse the biotransference process and restore his people's lost biological forms. Although no longer bound by the command protocols that once allowed him absolute control over the Necrons, Szarekh is still a figure of enormous influence and authority. His return has signaled a potential turning point in the galaxy's power dynamics, and his actions will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences for the future of the Warhammer 40k universe.